Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Based on all of the outcomes at UFC 284, especially the co-main and main event, in all likelihood the next matchup for the featherweight title will be against Alexander the Great Volkanovski and Yair El Pantera Rodriguez. I'm going to give a breakdown and talk about some things that I think may be a factor in this fight. I'm going to give an early prediction, and I think a lot of the time I'm going to be spending talking about ways that Yair Rodriguez could potentially do well in a matchup against Volkanovski, considering that I would imagine on most people's mind is like, how could you ever pick against Volkanovski after what we witnessed on Saturday night? So before we get into all that, I would greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. I'm going to thank you in advance. In true Canadian fashion, thank you very much for your subscription. Don't be the kind of guy that doesn't do the thing that he's already been thanked for. So thank you. Okay, now, Yair Rodriguez won his fight for the interim UFC featherweight championship of the world, as most of you will know. And the way that he did so was spectacular in many ways. And they touched a little bit about this on the broadcast booth, where they said he's not just throwing big strikes to throw big strikes. He's throwing big strikes to set up big strikes and to close distance. And, you know, the punches that he'll throw follow from the kicks and all of this. But I could see a lot of the weapons that he used against Josh Emmett, where he systematically broke him down. I could see a lot of those weapons being useful and relevant in his fight against Alexander Volkanovski. Josh Emmett and Volkanovski have a pretty similar body type, both shorter men, stocky, muscular, strong, all that good stuff. The way that Yair eventually set up, though, that flying knee, which did land, I don't know how Josh Emmett ate that, especially after the really hard weight cut that he had, was not just... It wasn't like he just decided in the moment, oh, I'm going to throw a flying knee for fun. It was all of the body kicks that he had thrown leading up to that point basically set that up for him. And what I mean by that is right off rip, pretty much from the very first round onwards, he was throwing hard body kicks to Josh Emmett's right side when he would go into that southpaw stance with his back left leg there. And those were brutally hard kicks. And with those kicks, it's like for the person defending, it's truly a double-edged sword, because you either have to block them, which is not going to feel nice, regardless, even if you manage to get both arms across. Like, you could potentially break your arms. We've seen that with, you know, guys like Robert Whittaker breaking Jared Cannonier's arm. We've seen, I believe, was it Forrest Griffin or was it Rich Franklin? I don't know. I get them confused sometimes. But one of them broke their arms during their fight against Chuck Liddell. I think it was Rich Franklin. You know, like, if you don't block a kick properly, you can break your arm. If you don't get both hands across to block a head kick, you could break your arm. And especially a kick coming from Yair Rodriguez. His kicks are lightning fast. And then the other side to that double-edged sword is you could try to catch them. But imagine trying to time that and catch that perfectly. If you miss even a little bit, you're eating a body kick, and that is not ideal. He continued to throw that, and almost the very first kick that he threw hurt Emmett to the body. And it was brilliant, because you could see that Emmett had a really bad weight cut, and he is pretty tough when it comes to, you know, his chin. Like, he ate that flying knee. As I said earlier, he has had multiple wars with dudes who can hit hard. Like, Dan Ige does not, you know, Dan Ige is not a light puncher. Dan Ige hits pretty hard, and they went all 5 rounds. So Josh Emmett's got a pretty good chin. So going after the body was very, very, very smart by Yair Rodriguez. And eventually, the reaction that he was getting out of Emmett from those body kicks, from the southpaw stance specifically, was what set up that flying knee, which then led to the takedown by Emmett, which then led to the finishing sequence by Yair Rodriguez on bottom. Josh Emmett continued to kind of peel over, crunch up his body a bit, and he was trying to block like his body and his head at the same time, almost with his elbows down and still keeping his hands up a little high. But you could tell that those body kicks had a huge impact on him, and he did not want to continue to get hit by them. And Yair also threw some knees from the clinch to the body and things like that. It was very smart. And I know that when you watch him fight, you might just think, oh, this guy's just like throwing what he wants to throw. And that's kind of true. He is very creative. He's very explosive, and he sometimes takes unnecessary risks. Like, had he not gotten that triangle choke after the takedown from Emmett, that flying knee would have been a total waste and, as I said, an unnecessary risk, because he ended up getting taken down from it despite it landing like flush on the neck. It was wild to watch Emmett eat that and continue to go forward. But he is not just throwing things at random, and it's those same weapons are going to be a serious factor in his fight against Alexander Volkanovski. Volkanovski, we just saw a great performance against Islam Makhachev, but he is susceptible to body kicks and head kicks. When Islam landed a couple head kicks, Volk was only able to get one hand up there. And credit to Volk's toughness, right? Because he was able to eat them, not get dropped or significantly rocked from any of them. Or if he did, he just has an incredible poker face. But he only got one hand up there. In the first round, right after he had went to one knee from a shot from Islam and popped right back up, he continued throwing. Islam quickly threw a head kick. He just got one hand up there, and it definitely landed back of the head a little bit, obviously, because it's a kick, the wraparound. You can't just block a kick with one hand. That is not ideal, but somehow he was okay. But with that being said, I would much rather block a kick from Islam Makhachev than I would from Yair Rodriguez, because one, Islam's kicks are more telegraphed. You can see them coming a little bit more because striking is not his first discipline. And while he does have accurate striking, and he, as we saw on Saturday, his striking is underrated, and I think a lot of that comes in large part due to the threat of the takedown, but doesn't matter because regardless, it's underestimated. His kicks are more telegraphed and they're slower. Even if he's got a heavier shin, which I doubt he throws a more powerful kick than Yair Rodriguez, I would way rather block or even try to catch one of Islam's kicks than I would Yair's kicks. Yair's kicks are some of the best kicks we have seen in the whole of the UFC, in my opinion. Like, there are certain guys where you've got Edson Barbosa's switch kick is like a thing of beauty. Everybody knows it, recognizes it. It's extremely fast. His wheel kick's great, but the switch kick's the one that we think of the most. You got Wonder Boy's little over-the-shoulder round kick that he throws. But with Yair, dude, there are so many different kinds of kicks, and he's good at all of them. But that back leg from southpaw stance is brutal. That is a brutal kick, and I would not want to be blocking it nor try to catch it. And Volkanovski is without a doubt going to have to pick one of those two. And when it comes to a head kick, you can't try to catch a head kick. And Volk is so short that Yair will be able to get that leg up lightning fast. And if Volk's not minding his P's and Q's, he could very well be ended up, face planted on the canvas. Now, I know Volkanovski, we all know and have seen on multiple occasions, is tough as nails. Like, incredibly tough. We have never really seen him, though. At least from what no, we have not. We have never seen him against a prolific kicker like Yair Rodriguez. As I said in my breakdown of Volkanovski and Islam, Islam has better kicks than Max Holloway. So up until this point, in my opinion, Islam has the best kicks out of any opponent he's faced. Brian Ortega is not known for his kicks. Max Holloway's not known for his kicks. Korean Zombie's not really known for his kicks. A lot of these guys are boxing style, or more boxing centric, at least, you know. Volkanovski mixes things up quite well, but he's not one to really throw hard body kicks or head kicks, even for that matter, because it would, you know, it's trickier for a shorter guy to land on a dude 4 inches taller than him with a head kick. But what Volk's really good at is making you have to reset with leg kicks, breaking your rhythm with leg kicks. And he was landing pretty good leg kicks on Islam. One of the ones that I didn't particularly like watching because it just looked a little bit awkward, and I understand why he was throwing it, but it was the outside leg kick to Islam's right leg when Volk was in an orthodox stance, because he had to switch to do it. And if you don't know what I mean by switch, I mean he had to quickly, like when you throw a switch kick, you're essentially switching stances for a second to throw the kick. It's like a little hop and a step, like a little skip. And he had to do that in order to land that on the lead leg of Islam. And I know he was doing it because he didn't want him to catch his back leg throwing an inside leg kick. But he got countered multiple times off of that outside leg kick from the orthodox stance. When he switched to southpaw and he would throw an outside leg kick on Islam's lead leg, to me, I was liking that a lot better. But, you know, the only reason I didn't like it is because he was getting countered by Islam. Whereas with Holloway, Ortega, he was good. He didn't need to be thinking about stuff like that. But he uses kicks in a different way. He's not using kicks to finish. His kicks are to set up his hands, because he'll be kicking you and hand fighting to make you have to reset constantly. Volkanovski is so good with so many things, man. Feints specifically being one of them. Right from the bell of the fight with Islam, he was showing him the right uppercut. That was to stop the takedown, or to at least make Islam think twice about it. If I shoot, that is waiting for me. And he continued to throw it at least once a minute. That's like underselling it. He was constantly showing him that feint. And it was great to see, because a lot of guys get away from their game plan when you have things in your game plan that are that detail orientated. A lot of the times guys will stray from it, because once you get into a fight, it's harder to think about, I gotta remember to show him the uppercut, I gotta remember to show him the knee, Volk doesn't really stray from his game plan, and right down to the small details. I don't think feints are gonna necessarily bug Yair Rodriguez. If I was being honest, and I know this is going to sound crazy because we just watched what Alexander Volkanovski did. We've watched what he's done in his last 4 fights, and each one just gets more and more impressive. But his best chance to victory, in my opinion, in this fight would be on the ground, because I don't see this man going kick for kick with Yair Rodriguez. And if he had the same kind of issues getting countered off of an outside, when Yair goes to southpaw, that's when he's got to be careful. And I don't want to see, well, I'm not going to say I don't want to see. I like Volkanovski a lot. I like Yair Rodriguez too. I would imagine that Yair Rodriguez has the edge on the feet in this one. Stylistically, especially, because Yair is an outside at-range kicker. He will come in and throw punches if he feels that he has you hurt, which he did a couple times against Emmett, and it almost backfired on him. But he will, for the most part, he'll be throwing kicks from range, and Volk's going to have to pick whether he's going to block or he's going to catch, and either one that's not a good choice. And Volkanovski doesn't have a real power back leg to throw back at him to make him kind of respect it, you know. So I think that Volk's going to end up having to take this one down to the ground. If he gets him down on the ground, I do not see him being submitted the way that Josh Emmett was, though, mind you. I would imagine that if Volkanovski gets this fight to the ground, he will win the fight from there. either he gets a finish or he just does what he did basically to Brian Ortega. You know, when he had Ortega on his back, just smash. And Yair in the first round when Emmett took him down, and Yair was unable to mount any significant or meaningful offense off of his back because Emmett immediately passed his guard, pardon me. And he got hit with some good shots, man. He got hit with some good shots. And I think Volkanovski's control, despite the wrestling credentials from Emmett, I think that Volkanovski's control will be much better on the ground against a guy like Yair Rodriguez. This is a very good fight, and I know that, like I said at the beginning of this video, it's going to be hard for anybody to pick against Volkanovski after what we just saw, especially against a guy, you know, a weight class up. But what everybody has to keep in mind is that styles make fights, and like I said, Volkanovski has never fought a prolific kicker like Yair Rodriguez. I mean, once you fight Yair Rodriguez, there's basically no prolific kicker that you could ever fight like Yair Rodriguez. The closest thing to him in the featherweight division was Zabit Magomedsharipov, but even still, Zabit had some flashy shit, but nothing, in my opinion. No power, speed, none of it compared to Yair. He had some cool kicks, and he was quick with that trip that he liked to do. You know, he had some tricky things, but Yair can kick, man. The only thing is that Volk is such a hard man that I could see Yair breaking his foot pretty early, like he did against Max Holloway. And I know that, like I was saying too earlier, Volk's tough as nails, and we know this. Like, he's ridiculously tough, but he does not have the same kind of chin that a Holloway does. And like I said, he's going to be a lot easier to land head kicks on. I don't think Yair really landed a meaningful head kick on Max Holloway in their fight. I could be forgetting. But, you know, Max Holloway was able to drop Volkanovski twice. Once with an uppercut, if I'm not mistaken, and once with a head kick. And Max Holloway does not have great head kicks. Volk dips a little bit in certain times where it's like, oh man, if you were fighting a real good like kickboxer, he would see that pretty quick. And Islam made him take a knee. I don't recall him getting hurt in any of the other fights. I think Chad Mendes might have actually knocked him down as well in their fight. But so the recoverability of Volkanovski is quite impressive, right? But the initial defense of just your chin is not as impressive as a Holloway, or even an Ortega for that matter. We've never seen Volkanovski have to take a beating like those two men have taken, but that's part of why I'm saying that also, because we've seen him dropped on a couple of occasions from stuff that, you know, I ain't dropping Max Holloway. And I know that if you are one that really relies on MMA math, or if you want to get more sophisticated, MMA calculus, or, you know, then you would probably be thinking, well, hey, Volkanovski dominated Max Holloway. Max Holloway beat Yair Rodriguez. How are you saying? I just had a lisp there. That's all right. How are you saying that you figure Yair has a chance? And that's because styles make fights. And sometimes when we watch an incredible performance from a guy, and we have what is called recency bias, right? That idea of styles make fights goes a little bit out the door, or out the window, or wherever, down the toilet, anywhere. Because you're just so impressed by what you've just seen that you're like, nobody's beating this guy, especially not at 145 after what he just did to Islam. But, you know, dude, Joe Lopez, I want to say that too. Joe Lopez is one of the most, like, unheralded coaches in all of MMA that deserves more credit than Eugene Behrman times 1,000. Okay? I don't understand. Well, I understand why, but I don't like it that Eugene Behrman and City Kickboxing gets a lot of credit for Alexander Volkanovski, and I don't like that because they don't deserve it. at all. You know what I mean? Joe Lopez is his head coach, right? Eugene Behrman is friends of Joe Lopez, and I know that I think they may have merged their gym, but up until this point, Joe Lopez was the main guy. The game plans that this dude has been devising against fighters that are like incredible is stunning to watch, man. And nobody really gives him credit. Like you never really hear his name in the media. You hear Eugene's because Israel Adesanya is more prevalent in the media, I guess, than Volkanovski is. That's why I like Volkanovski so much, man. He's such a cool dude, so down to earth. But Joe Lopez deserves some goddamn credit. This guy should be getting Coach of the Year or some shit. You know, maybe not this year. But last year, was he even in the conversation for Coach of the Year? Like, I don't remember ever hearing his name when they were doing that shit. Volkanovski didn't lose a fucking round in 2022. And Joe Lopez's name barely gets brought up. Eugene gets Coach of the Year because of fucking... You know what I mean? Eugene's a good coach. Fair. But... Man. Joe Lopez, dude. And Craig Jones is a fantastic grappling coach. Like, Volk's got a really good team behind him. And, yeah, dude. This is going to be a really good fight. If I had to pick, man, if I had to make an early prediction, I would probably pick Volkanovski. Because, like I said, it's going to be fucking hard to pick against him, dude. But I don't think it's going to be an easy fight by any means. And I think that the potential for, like, a fucking head kick finish... or Volkanovski peeling over to a liver kick is significant. Like, it may not be the most likely outcome, but there's a pretty good chance that could happen. And especially if Yair starts getting the same sort of reads he was getting on Josh Emmett, where he's dipping his head and crunching up his body to his right side, to Emmett's right side, because he doesn't want to get hit with that goddamn fucking liver kick again. You know, I could see some shit being there. And but I would imagine what I imagine happening is that probably happens once or twice in the first round where Volk takes a real heavy kick and he goes, fuck, I can't stand and trade with this dude. Maybe he works on catching body kicks, but and then countering with his left hand. Like I said, though, dude, that is going to be a real hard body kick to catch. I could see him, though, utilizing Yair's kicks to get him off balance. Like, if he times attacks off of Yair's kicks and he's able to get Yair to the ground, I could see Volk doing work on the ground and probably getting a decision that way. Maybe a finish, but I don't know. Yair's tough as nails, dude. And he's super crafty off his back. Almost to his detriment at some points. Like, he would rather attempt 3 submissions than try to get to a better position. Which is fine. Like, I like watching it and all that. But, you know. It landed. It allowed Emmett, to land some good shots on him in the first round there. And then he eventually got the finish, so what do I know? But he ain't choking out Volk. You know, if Ortega can have you in a locked-up triangle and you escape that shit, Yair Rodriguez ain't choking you out. At least, you know, not very likely. But, alright, this has gone on long enough. I kind of just rambled, but I got a lot of thoughts going on in my head about this, and I just don't want people to forget that styles make fights. And just because we saw Yair Rodriguez do something phenomenal, well, we saw them both do something phenomenal. That's part of the thing, too, is like, Yair Rodriguez is getting overshadowed a lot. And I know it was an interim belt, and I know it was against a guy like Josh Emmett, but it really shows you the level that he's at, because he looked like a world beater. He, you know, like I said, a few shots landed in the first round, but nothing significant. He was able to get out of the way of the vast majority of Emmett's shots, pick him apart. Like, it looked like he was fighting a guy that was outside of the top 15, quite frankly, right? So we get to see, oh yeah, he is absolutely on that level. Like, he's up there with all those guys. And that's that. And, yeah, it's getting overshadowed because Volk did such a fantastic job, but styles make fights. And I've gone on about this long enough. But, like I said, It's gonna be a good one, dude. And yeah, I can't wait. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know your predictions in the comments below. I would love to hear what you guys think of this fight. And I know there's probably going to be a lot of dudes just being like, Volk by fucking whatever. You can come up with any crazy shit. But let me know what you guys think. And like and subscribe. Thank you so much in advance for your subscription. I greatly appreciate it. And y'all have a good one. See ya.